Do you see what's on my screen right now? This is supposed to be an image of the big three of the Philadelphia 76ers during the 2024 Media Day. This was the big three that we were all supposed to fear. That was supposed to give the Boston Celtics a run for their money. In a division, or not a division, in a conference where the Celtics and the Knicks look like the top teams, or the top dogs, I should say, to knock off. You know, Philly was supposed to be the one to challenge them, right? Because who cares about some damn Milwaukee Bucks, okay? They traded away their best defender for an offensive juggernaut in Damian Lillard, and that ended up falling flat on its face the first year. To be fair, Giannis was hurt. And then the Cavs, who no one predicted would go 34-6, right? This was supposed to be the team that went 34-6. You know what I'm saying? But instead, these 76ers. Actually, before I continue, yeah, they added pieces. They added Kyle Lowry, or they re-signed Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre Jr., two guys that actually did pretty good things for Philly last year. They signed Caleb Martin, who, on some real shit, I love Caleb and I love what he did with Miami. They signed Reggie Jackson, and y'all know I got love for Reggie Jackson, even if he torched my Lakers so many times when he was in a Clipper jersey. But the 76ers are 15-27, and they got the brakes beat off them by the Denver Nuggets, who have been playing well as of late, to their credit. Since they added Russell Westbrook into the starting lineup, the Nuggets have played lights out basketball. But for Philly to get blown out this bad, and I was actually watching a YouTuber from this guy named Run It Back Philly, which he's up there with guys like Trevor Lane of Laker Nation. Shout out to Trevor, and a few other YouTubers that I watch too. He's like up there with like Kenny Beecham, and even some guys that cover the Clippers. I forgot. There's this one guy I forgot about. I'll put his name in the description below. He's also very entertaining to watch. No, he's up there with the awful coachings of the world and the Trevor Lanes. Shout Run It Back Philly. But he was just going all in on this damn team. And I'm about to go all in on this damn team too, because I'm sick and tired of the Philadelphia 76ers. And I ain't even no damn Sixer fan. And watching this team, watching Podcast P play probably some of the worst basketball I've seen him play. And I've followed Paul George's career when he was on the Pacers. I've seen his meltdown with Oklahoma City, that game 6 against the Utah Jazz, when him, Russ, and Carmelo were down 3-2 against a rookie Donovan Mitchell. I've seen his meltdown against the Denver Nuggets when he hit the side of the backboard when the Clippers were leading by 16, 19, and 12 in games 5, 6, and 7. This is the worst I've seen Paul George play. Phoenix Suns, congratulations. You're no longer the Piss Chickens. You are Piss Chickens tier, but you're no longer the Piss Chickens. These guys are the new Piss Chickens in town, because that's what I'm seeing on my damn screen. I'm seeing a whole pile of SHIT on my TV screen. And I was watching that game. Oh, man, bro. I was watching that game against Denver, bro. I was like mesmerized on how bad these mofos are, bro. These guys have no heart to defend. These guys they ain't even in sync on offense half the time. It's just Maxey and George chuck up all the shots you want, and let's have Embiid sit for the sideline. Oh my gosh. A telltale about this, y'all, is when I first heard Joel Embiid say he's not going to play back-to-backs. And I made this type of point in my Jimmy Butler video and how he's being unprofessional about his business. This is also another example of being unprofessional about your business. Yes, I am aware of Joel's injury history. Okay, it's not pretty by any means, and I do not wish anyone to get injured. But to get it to a point where you openly admitted that you do not want to play back-to-backs is just some next level buffoonery that would make every basketball fan's booty itch, man. Like, this is just disgraceful. And then Paul George, like, I was actually talking to one of my guys at the gym about this, and one of his main concerns about and this guy's a Knicks fan, by the way, so he's kind of happy they got Paul George because Paul George is going to screw up the Sixers chemistry. But he says on some real stuff, I don't like it because how are you going to distribute shots between PG, Tyrese, and Joel? Because all three of those guys need the ball. George cannot play off the ball. Like I've seen him on the Clippers. George can. He's not bad off the ball, but he doesn't play off the ball. He's not Steph, but he's no slouch for moving off the ball. But it's just that PG's too ball dominant to even do that. You know what I mean? Same with Tyrese Maxey too. I love Tyrese, but I think if he can up his game by moving off the ball, I think Tyrese will be a much better player. So that way, it could take so much pressure off him, and he could learn how to shoot off the catch. I'm not saying Tyrese needs to be Steph or Clay, but he doesn't need to be ball dominant. He doesn't need to take every shot half the time, man. So that's one of the things wrong with the 76ers offense it's because there's way too many mouths to feed. I mean, obviously Joel, he's an MVP candidate, albeit fraudulent, but he's still an MVP candidate, so I have to give him that title, unfortunately, because I've never been an Embiid guy. Maybe his first 2 years, but definitely, sure as hell not now. But, Joel needs the ball too. And the fact that Embiid and George cannot stay healthy, it screws up the continuity of the Philadelphia 76ers. And that's what a lot of people do not understand. And let's not even get started about the horrendous defense I have seen this team play, especially last night against the Denver Nuggets. What was that? Philly, what was that? Y'all should be lucky you're 11th in the Eastern Conference. How are they 11th in the Eastern Conference with just 15 wins out of 42 games played, bro? Wow. Anyways, yeah. When I was watching these bums on defense, bro, it was like, dog, these players had zero heart. And I don't know, man. These guys, it didn't even seem like they want to commit defensively. And I'm going to be talking about Nick Nurse because I don't necessarily think it's a him problem. It can be at times, but I just think at the end of the day, the players had to play. And I don't know if Nick Nurse has lost the locker room or these players are just not buying into his system. I have no idea. But it just feels like half the Sixers tuned him out, man. And it reflected on their effort out on the court. Because otherwise, why else would they allow 144 points to this team? And going back to Nick Nurse, I've always had respect for the guy. What he did in 2019 and 2020 with those Raptors teams, especially when he had Kawhi, I had nothing but praise for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I saw what Nick Nurse did, even in the season where they made it back to the playoffs and they lost, ironically, to the Philadelphia 76ers, but at the time, they had James Harden in the first round. They gave Philly a good fight with Nick Nurse as the head coach, and they obviously had OG, they had Siakam, that was their first year without Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet. They traded away Norman Powell, but Nick Nurse, I do like, but he's doing a bad job coaching this roster. But I don't believe it's all on him because there are times like look at this, their 5-game losing streak. Well, actually, let me backtrack. Okay, first game against Milwaukee, 124-109. Okay, they're just warming up. Losing to Toronto, 115-107. Winning against Indiana in overtime, losing against Detroit by 10, getting blown out against Memphis, losing to Phoenix, losing to the Clippers and the Lakers, two teams who I don't think are going. It's painful for me to say as a Laker fan, but I don't think we're going anywhere. But that's a whole nother issue. The Clippers, we all know, like it's just clockwork at the end of the day with the Clippers. But anyways, yeah, barely winning against Charlotte. And then you look at their December schedule, it looked like the Sixers we're on a roll, man. Like, look, December 3rd, they won against Charlotte. December 6th, they won against Orlando. December 8th, win against Chicago, winning 2 against Charlotte. And they even won from December 16th to December 30th. They went 6-1 of their last 7. And it looked like this team was well on their way to becoming the team that we expected to see. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, it's only gotten worse. It's only gotten worse because their last win was literally 2 weeks ago against the Washington Wizards. They lost against the Pelicans, a lowly Pelicans team. They had a lead against Orlando, but they got absolutely they didn't get blown out, but they lost in a close one to Orlando. They got blown out by Oklahoma City. They lost in overtime to New York. They got dominated by both Indiana and Milwaukee. And they just got absolutely obliterated by the Denver Nuggets. And they had to play against the 34-6 Cavaliers, which I'm already predicting what's going to happen in that one. So, yeah, the Sixers are bad. But no one predicted they would be this abysmally bad, bro. This is just absolutely awful, dude. Like, I'm not even a Philly fan, but I'm cringing watching this team play. It's like, okay, it's kind of like Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, okay? Jets sign Aaron Rodgers. First 4 snaps of the ball game, Aaron tears his Achilles. Comes back the next year. The Aaron Rodgers and the Jets miss the playoffs. But, oh my gosh, man. But in the only difference is that Aaron Rodgers is up there in age and he has, like, he's just old, right? But Paul George is supposed to be in his prime right now. Joel Embiid's supposed to be in his prime, and Maxi's supposed to be a budding superstar, or a budding star, I should say. I probably shouldn't say superstar because I don't want to call it early. But these guys don't look in sync at all. And it doesn't help that one's a part-time player and the other one just cares about his podcast. He's not available half the time, and he kind of loafs around on both sides of the ball at times, which is why the Clippers got rid of him. And the Clippers probably didn't even want him at the tail end of this because, you know, I've seen what Paul George did last year against the Dallas Mavericks, and that was just pure horse shit. Like, my God, didn't even put effort. He didn't even want to be there, and he didn't even play, at least for the Clipper fan base and for the fans that had defended him, because I've been a Paul George fan since Indiana. But I've stopped being a fan of him because it's just like, bro, you care more about doing your stupid podcast? You have more podcasts than you have games played, my man. You have more podcasts than games played. And your team is on the verge of not even making the goddamn play-in. Paul George has just been pissing me off. Maxey, I'm not a fan of his play style, but again, it's not really all his fault because Jeremy McCain was actually complimenting Maxey very well, and it kind of allowed Maxey to play off ball a little bit, so I can't blame Tyrese for being a shot chucker at times. But even still, he's very inefficient. But Joel Embiid, man. Joel Embiid is the most fraudulent MVP ever. I mean, I shouldn't be saying this because everyone that knows basketball knows this. Joel is the most fraudulent MVP ever. And the fact that we've heard from his mouth that he doesn't want to play back-to-backs, it's just, you know, this is why NBA ratings are down, man. This is why NBA ratings are down because dudes like that just simply don't want to play. And like I said, this is just unprofessional levels of handling your own business. Excuse me. And then Paul George saying, "Oh, I'm bored. I don't want to play center because I fouled." I'm just like, dog, bro. Anthony Davis is not a goddamn center. He doesn't want to play center, but he still plays, and albeit he's not the best job at being a center, but at least he's able to play in spite of it. And you can't play center even though you're a pretty tall guy and you have a good wingspan. I understand the leg injury and such, but dog, oh my goodness. This team's such a mess. This team is such a mess, man. Like the Sixers, whoever the GM of the Sixers is, yeah, you should issue out an apology letter to all your fans that step in a Wells Fargo arena, or Wells Fargo Center, I should say. You should issue an apology and refund every season ticket holders money back. Because this product that y'all putting out there, oh yeah, you guys signed that Yabusele guy who's actually a pretty good player. I just think he can't. I just think he's just on the wrong team. Because from what I'm seeing, Yabusele is the only one competing. Caleb Martin, when healthy, is the only one competing. Because those dudes have motors. The rest are just old, washed up has-beens that have virtually no game left, or they should probably be shipped to another team. And I think that's what they should do. Just sell the damn team. And it just also comes with the fact that these bums don't even want to compete out there. These dudes do not, y'all dudes in Philly jerseys do not even bother to compete half the time. Like, okay, if you lost to the Denver Nuggets by a score of, let's say, 119 to 109, at least Philly fans can sleep easy saying, you know what, we just didn't have our MVP. We got it within a close game, but the Nuggets were able to run away with it in the end. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. At least you guys have hearts to compete. You guys have no hearts. Wow. This is just insane levels of bad, man. You guys don't want to compete on offense. We don't want to share the rock. It's just all Maxey and George ISOs, and Joel Embiid dribble at the top of the key thinking he's KD, he's Kyrie, try to flop his way into free throws. Oh, man. And then defensively, Paul George, he's not the defender he once was in Indiana. Maxey's not a good defender. Yabusele can defend, but it's just like, oh my gosh. Wow. You bums are this bad. And then I hate to say about my man Reggie Jackson, I hate to have him catch strays from me because that's my guy. Even though, again, he's given my Lakers a lot of hell when he was in a Clipper jersey. Reggie, that dude is washed. He should not be in the rotation for this Philly team. Maybe he'll be serviceable elsewhere where they need an actual backup point guard. But Reggie's the third stringer, and this is what happens when you have him as a third stringer. But overall, he's washed too. I'm sorry, he's washed. And I hate to say it as a Reggie fan. But whatever. Eric Gordon, washed. Why is he out there? Kyle Lowry, love the guy. Love what he did in Toronto. Love what he did in parts of Miami. Why is he out there? Nick Nurse, man, this ain't the team for you. I feel like you'd be better off coaching a young, hungry team. Maybe San Antonio hit him up. Because I think he would be serviceable there. I think it'll help Wemby's growth. But I hate to make the video longer. But all I'm saying is the Sixers are bad. And I'm just here to roast the hell out of them. But I don't even want to roast them because it's just like, oh man, I was never a fan of this team at the beginning. When they signed Paul George, I was scratching my head because Paul George is not adding more value, than Tobias Harris. And I'm saying this right now. James Harden was Joel Embiid's best teammate. I genuinely believe that because at least when James was on the team, the Sixers looked a lot more organized. It allowed Maxey to play out ball. And him and Embiid's pick and roll was actually pretty good. It wasn't a thing of beauty, that's for damn sure, but it was pretty good. But now, no James Harden. There's no floor general. Kyle Lowry can't be the floor general that he was in Toronto because he's going to be 40 in a couple of years. George is not a facilitator. Maxey's not a facilitator. And we know Joel Embiid needs a facilitator. But you know what? That's it. All this team can do is save them from themselves. And you know what? Until they do it, we're just gonna keep roasting them. They're gonna keep hearing it from everyone in the media. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces.